Welcome back. This is Aquarium Hacks by Marcus. And so today I'm going to be talking about ammonia and ammonium. These are two compounds that are found in aquariums. And you might remember a video that I made back about 2 years ago or so when I had a very heavily planted tank, but I couldn't get a full cycle with just adding aquarium plants. And while yet some people say that they could get a cycle with adding aquarium plants, while yet some other people say that they cannot get a cycle with adding aquarium plants. And so that's going to depend on the conditions of your aquarium. And so we're going to get into that. But just because this is a bit of a controversial video, let's keep our comments clean. Let's keep constructive criticism here. There are young children who are on this channel. So if you don't keep, your comments clean and respectful with constructive criticism, which is welcome here, but if you can't do that, then please don't comment at all. If you do comment and if it is disrespectful in some kind of way, I will remove it and take whatever measures that I need to take in order to keep this YouTube channel as clean and respectful as possible. But let's get into why some people say they can cycle with plants and why some people say it never did work for them. So it's like in my case personally. So now I'm not a scientist and I'm not a chemist, but I'm just going to read you an article, a scientific article about these two compounds. Ammonia, which is NH3, and ammonium, which is NH4, are two different chemical compounds that exist in aquariums, and they have different levels of toxicity and effects on aquatic life. Ammonia, a toxic gas with a pungent smell that can harm aquatic organisms. Ammonia can be acutely toxic to fish, causing convulsions and death. It can also stress fish, damage their gills and internal organs, and make it difficult for them to eliminate ammonia from their bodies. Ammonia can enter an aquarium from fish waste, uneaten food, or decaying matter. Ammonium, an odorless, non-toxic salt that is harmless to aquatic organisms. Ammonium is formed when ammonia is chemically converted into ammonium at a neutral or acid pH. The degree to which ammonia converts to ammonium depends on the pH of the solution. At a pH of 7 or below, almost all of the result is ammonium. And so, and I will have all this down into the description at the bottom so you can read it. I think it's a really interesting article. So the toxicity of ammonia is really relevant to the pH in your aquarium, your water hardness and your pH. So, like for instance, like I got back here, for example, this pH here is about 8.2. So trying to cycle my tank, this African cichlid tank, with just plants would not work in my situation because my pH is too high, ammonia levels are too high, and it takes time for the nitrifying bacteria to break all that stuff down and to convert it to less harmful materials such as ammonium. And by that time, your plants, just can't keep up with that. So what is the benefit of having overfiltration for an African cichlid tank? Like many people that have hard water tanks or African cichlid tanks usually do overfilter their tanks. And the reason for that is because they need as much nitrifying bacteria to develop as much as it possibly can to help to eliminate ammonia, converting it to a less toxic ammonium. But it's a lot to work to do. That's why you see larger water changes and things of that nature. Even if you add plants, they will help a little bit. They help with the nitrates. They might take up some ammonia. They might, they help with oxygen, the tank. Roots will help to stabilize the gravel and things of that nature. So they do have their benefits. But to cycle a hard water tank with just plants is very difficult, extremely difficult. And you might see a lot of casualties if that's all you're depending on. Yeah, and that's why you see African cichlid tanks. They have an overfiltration. They have a lot of filters on them. 2 canisters, sometimes 2 canisters in a sump. Sometimes they have hang-on backs, sponge filters, all kinds of stuff, because they want that nitrifying bacteria, which is going to work harder for them in that situation than the plants will at a higher pH. And that was my situation and why I kept on having an ammonia reading. We're going to get into that too later on about the API test kit. Now, let's say on the reverse side, let's say this was a pH of 7.0 or 6.8. Now ammonia is being converted mainly over to ammonium, which means now I can essentially cycle my tank with just plants, because plants quickly take up that ammonium very quickly into the leaves and very quickly out of the water column. And while you can have even, you can even get along maybe even without filtration and maybe having some kind of water flow in your tank, maybe a little pump blowing over the plants, or maybe some kind of oxygen going on the top, and which then your bacteria, you still have bacteria there, will convert the little ammonia that you do have into ammonium. And now your plants, because you got that lower pH, can easily cycle your tank much more efficiently that way. Matter of fact, it is true, isn't it, that some people can cycle, have an aquarium without actual filters at all, especially, I must add, if they have a lower pH, because your plants are just going to simply work better to cycle your aquarium in a lower pH, because that you don't have much ammonia, you have ammonium. Matter of fact, if your pH gets too low, like 6.0, now you're not even having really nitrifying bacteria. It's not even hardly working for you. And then it kind of becomes off balance then. And so you have to be careful about too low of a pH that can actually do some harm to your aquatic environment. You have to be very experienced with very, very low pH situations. Now, moving along, so then some people will test their water and they will say, well, I got my API test kit and I'm testing my water and it looks like my ammonia is still kind of high, still on the green. That could not possibly be, but my fish are doing fine. That could possibly not be ammonia. That could be ammonium. And that's the problem with the API test kit, because it tests for both ammonia and ammonium. Now, once those two compounds balance out, the green goes away and then it's the yellow, which we know that's safe. And so that's the kind of problem with API test kit, because it actually doesn't differentiate very much between those two compounds. Now, another test kit that would be more efficient in telling you how much free ammonia, which is deadly to your fish, that you have in your tank would be the CChem test kit. And we, of course, want to get that ammonia as low as possible, that free ammonia as low as possible, even to zero, if we possibly can. And so here it is, just a quick recap. According to your pH, at least from my experience and from these many aquariums that I've talked about that said that they just could not cycle their aquarium with just plants, was, well, because we all got high pH and hard water. It is more difficult to do it with plants. We really, as far as hard water aquariums go, African cichlid tanks, maybe some other type of hard water fish tanks, we really need to depend on overfiltration, and in order to really get that nitrifying bacteria to grow in really, really, really good in there. For the person who has lower pH, 7.4 to 6.8, you will not have as high of ammonia problems. So you can essentially cycle your aquarium with plants. And that's why I had made that video a couple years ago, why it was not working for me, because I still had high pH and a relatively I had high pH and relatively hard water, even though I had a bunch of plants in there. And so eventually it did balance out in about 2 or 3 weeks. It did balance out with the plants and the bacteria and the nitrifying bacteria. I was running filtration on it. But I honestly believe it was my nitrifying bacteria with my high pH that was ultimately taking care of that problem. Then once it really started taking care of that problem, it started to convert that ammonia to ammonium, and the plants were able to really take that out of the water with their floating plants, with their leaves or with their roots, according to what kind of plant that you are growing in your aquarium. And so that was the issue there. Now, just to tell you something real quick, my brother has a tank, and he's got his pH down to 6.8. Right? He used fluorine stratum and all kinds of stuff to get it down that low. He likes keeping his pH low, and he can cycle his tank essentially with plants because his ammonia levels has dropped down very low, and the beneficial bacteria that's in there can easily convert that ammonia, that little ammonia, to ammonium, and your plants just take it up just like it does nitrates. And so, but it would not work in my situation or some of these other hard water fish situations because of our high pH. And so I'm going to have that stuff all down at the bottom of the description there. So this is Aquarium Hacks by Marcus. Just want to say, hey, keep on hacking. On some of my other videos, I'm going to continue to try to go back and talk about some of these new products that I got and some of the new snails that I have introduced into this tank here so far. So look forward to those videos. Hey, everybody, have a great day.